Hi lovelies, you're most welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, hello, hi, my name is Eva. I'm a fashion designer based in Lagos and I create videos on easy pattern drafting and sewing tutorial. If you're passionate about learning how to sew or you know someone who is interested in learning how to sew, please recommend my channel and also please kindly subscribe to my channel and join me in this journey. Thank you so much. So today we'll be making this beautiful bubble dress on our screen. The dress that inspired this dress is actually a corset dress. It has bones and all, but I didn't want to add boning to mine, so I made the dress without the boning. You can go ahead to attach boning to yours, but mine still came out looking very beautiful as you can see on your screen. So without wasting your time, let's just jump right into this tutorial. For this dress, I used just 1 yard for the black fabric and 3.5 yards for the yellow fabric. Let's get over to the pattern drafting. This pattern is a very easy and simple pattern. So to start our pattern, I'm going to draw a baseline or a start line. So it is from this line that I will take order of our horizontal measurements. So placing my tape on that line, I took 10 inches for my bust point, 13 inches for my under bust, 16 inches for my half line, and then from 16 inches I came down 3 inches. That would be my lower waistline. That is where our top is going to stop and then our skirt will be attached. So for my neck width, I took 3.5 inches. For the neck depth, I took 3 inches. The neck depth here is not important because I'll still lower it. I'm just creating it so that we'll have like a base for our bodice. So for my shoulder measurement, I impute my shoulder measurement divided by 2 and I came down 1 inch to get my shoulder slope. Now I'm going to take my armhole length, my armhole depth. Your armhole depth is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. Now I'm going to impute my bust measurement just to get that armhole depth extension. And now I'm going to find the midpoint of that line, go in by 1/2 inch, and then get my armhole curve. I have video on how to do this. I've explained it in so many of my tutorials. The next thing is I'm imputing my bust span measurement. Your bust span measurement is your measurement from one nipple to the other divided by 2. Mine is 4, so that line is what I'm drawing. So now I'm imputing my body measurement divided by 4, my bust measurement, my waist measurement, my lower waist measurement, all divided by 4 plus sewing allowances. So as you can see, this is basically a basic bodice pattern that I've just drafted. So from my bust point, I'm going to go up 1 inch. You can go up further if you don't want yours to be that deep. So from that 1 inch, I still came in. I went in by 1/2 inch. I'm sorry, my camera didn't capture it. And then I connected it to my neck line, as you can see. So what I'm doing now is I'm connecting from that 1 inch that I went up to my under bust line. And then from the other side of my under bust line, I went up by 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to connect it to the other end. Please, if you don't understand what I'm explaining, just watch what I'm doing. So please, before you cut out this pattern, make sure you add your dart at the waist. I was in so much rush when I was doing this tutorial because I've already started sewing before I decided to make this tutorial. You know how designers can be when we have events, like 2 hours to the event, we want to make an outfit. So I forgot totally that I was supposed to put that on the waist. So just input your dart, that's 1/2 inch, and then you cut out your pattern. So this is me cutting out my pattern. Don't forget to add your dart at that waist line that I'm cutting right now. But when I cut on my fabric, I sure added my darts. So for the yoke for the yoke, the shoulder is going to have like a gathers because I'm going to put like a drawstring. So what I'm doing now, I found the midpoint of my shoulder. I'm going to like do like a little slash. I'm going to slash it, not completely to the end. I'm just going to leave a small line there, and then I'm going to spread the shoulders. So now I added it on another paper and I'm going to spread it the way I want. You can spread it more if you want a very big volume, but for this style, it's not good to have too much volume on that shoulder line. Now I'm just trying to trim out the shoulder so that it will be equal. So now we have our front pattern and we are going to go over for the back. So I already have my back block here. The next thing I'm going to do is to impute my bust span measurement, which is supposed to be our dart line, except that I forgot to also include my darts at the back. I don't know what I was thinking, but please pardon me and please add your darts. Just half an inch on both sides is okay. Now I'm going in by 2 inches and then at the bottom I'm going in by 1 inch. This will have loop. We are not going to have zip. This is why I went in by 2 inches at the top, then 1 inch at the bottom, 1 inch at the bottom. Now I'm going to connect from my neck, for the edge of my neck to that 2 inches I went in, and then I'm going to cut out my back pattern. Forgive me for that mistakes that I did. I didn't know what I was thinking. I was in a rush and I just made it. So after labeling and cutting out my back pattern, just like the front yoke, I'm also going to slash my back yoke. So I'm going to slash the shoulders only. Now I'm finding the midpoint, just like I did for the front. I'm going to draw out the line and then I'm going to slash it. And then spread on another paper. So this is me trying to even out the lines on the shoulder and then at the bottom. So when I'm done, I'm going to use this to cut out on our fabric. So I've gone ahead to cut out on my fabric and also my lining. For my lining, I used doll face. And you can see I also applied feasible interfacing on both my fabric and my lining. And then you can look at the shoulders. I added 1.5 inches at the shoulders because I'm going to use it to create like a tunnel for our drawstring. Now I'm going to arrange our pieces ready to sew. This is my front, the upper part of my front, which is serving as our yoke. And I'm going to use the same fabric that I use for the base for the lining too. So I place them right side facing each other and I'm showing you where to sew. You're going to sew the neckline by the side and then the armhole. Then I'll get the front panel, place them together and I'm going to sew them with 1/2 inch. Also the back, place them right side together and then I'm going to sew them with 1/2 inch. I'll also get the back yoke. Like I stated, I use the same fabric to do the lining. Now I'm going to place them together. I'm going to sew the back line, sew the arm curve and leave the bottom. You can see I've sewn my base and my lining together at the neckline and the arm curve. The next thing I'm going to do now is to take the upper part and then attach it to the other part of our front panel. So this is how it looks when I've attached the upper part to the other side of the bodice. The next thing to do is to get my lining. I'm going to attach my lining to my main bodice. Like match it right side facing each other and then align all the seam in the necessary place like you can see me doing, and then go to my machine to sew this together. And then for my back, I already created loops and attached them. Also attach the yoke to the main back panel. Now I'm going to get my lining and then I'm going to attach them together. I'm going to sew on the upper side, the center side, and then the side. So after joining my lining to my panels, as you can see, the next thing to do basically is to just join our back panel to our front panel using the sewing allowance that we added. We are going to join it by the sides and then add the shoulders also. Now that we are done with the upper part of the dress, let's go over to the skirt. Like I stated, I used 3.5 yards to make my skirt. You can use more fabric if you want. And for the length, I cut out a rectangle that is 20, the length is 22 inches, but my lining will be shorter with 6 inches. So if you want to know the amount of fabric to use, you can decide to multiply your waist by 3 or by 4 depending on how full you want your skirt. But for me, I use the whole 3.5 yards of fabric. Now I'm going to cut my skirt lining and I'm going to use a 90 degrees flay. As you can see, I'm folding my fabric in bias form, and the 90 degrees flay is divided, the radius for dividing it is 1.57. So I'm going to use my hip measurement, but I'm not going to use my actual hip measurement because I wouldn't want it to be tight around my hip. So I'm going to add like 5 inches, making it 45. My hip measurement is 40, so I'm going to divide 45 by 1.5, and it gave me 28 inches. So as you can see, I placed my tape. I'm sorry, my camera didn't capture it. I placed my tape at the tip of that bias, and then I'm taking 28 all around, as you can see me doing. Now I'm going to take the length of my lining. Remember I said that my lining will be 6 inches shorter than my actual skirt. So that is what I'm taking, and I will go ahead to cut out this. So after cutting my lining, I'm going to get that 3.5 yards of fabric, that rectangle, and then I'm going to create a pleat around my skirt lining, the bottom of my skirt lining. So I'm going to create pleats with all that 3.5 yards of fabric around the bottom of my skirt lining. So I've gathered my fabric at the hem of my skirt lining. Now I'm going to get the top of my skirt lining and then gather it to my actual waist size plus my zip allowance. Remember when I was cutting the flay, I used my hip measurement plus 5 so that I will not have, so that it will be very free for me. So I'm going to gather this to my actual waist measurement plus zip allowance. So here I have gathered it to my waist measurement plus zip allowance. Then I'll get the top of my skirt lining and the top of my actual skirt. And then I'm going to join them together, making sure they are equal at the top. As you can see, I'm going to place them together. Then I'm going to stitch from that up down, joining them together. And I'll also do the same on the other side of the skirt. So after closing my skirt by the sides, I'm going to pleat my actual skirt on my lining, making sure that 3.5 yards that my lining accommodates all. So I'm going to do little pleatings on the lining. So here is her skirt. After joining it together, you can see how beautiful it looks already. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to close down my zip allowance. I'm just going to join the both sides together, run a stitch, stopping where I'm going to attach my zip. Now I'll get my top and I'll get the string and then attach it at that shoulder seam, match it down, and then match down the seam like I'm demonstrating in this video. And when I'm done with that, the next thing to do is just to attach my skirt to my top. I'm sorry that I'm rushing. Like I stated, I was rushing when I was doing this tutorial, but I hope you're able to understand the things I said in this video. Thank you so much for always stopping by to watch my video. If you haven't subscribed, please do me the kind favor to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next. Bye.